guys and welcome to Rauta's Black Note Reviews. This time the band in question is one of the most controversial of all times and for rather obvious reasons. So save your butthurt for your friends and families. This time we're gonna talk about some music coming from Germany and the band in question is Absurd. This is indeed quite an absurd release as well as a band coming from Germany. Now, before we get into the actual album, Schwarze Bande, there's something of a background I need to tell you because a lot of people might feel confused about what is going on. First of all, there's basically three different versions of Absurd. The one on the original from the 90s and then the spin-offs. As you might see here on Metal Archive's backdrop, you will see the original Absurd listed here. If you would, however, use the search function, you would see there are three different versions. The original one and then these two modern days bands. And one of them is founded by no other than J.F. Ende. And here he is, Hendrik Möbus, one of the most high-nosed black metal criminals in the world. I mean, he served some time for murdering a person in early 90s. And what makes it rather interesting is that there is this other Absurd, founded by his brother, and it's all listed here for your listening and reading pleasures. So here we're focusing on this version of Absurd, which basically made its first release in 2020s. And like I said, three different bands may be acting, or one is in the past and two active ones are nowadays here. This particular one, which is kind of a successor to the first one, has one album out and then these split releases. Now this CD, which I don't have here, it was given to me at a festival in 2022. It was something like I got introduced this guy. I don't know him, but this Finnish guy gave me like, would you review this album for Rauta if I was going to give it to you, and I was making joke, okay, this time it's probably some NSBM stuff, and I was joking before I even took a look at this CD. I didn't even know that I was getting an NSBM CD, and I was like, okay, this kind of got awkward because I was just merely joking based on this guy having a Burzum shirt and nice haircut and all, and indeed it was something that was related to NSBM. And that is one of the other reasons why Absurd is so often seen as very controversial. Not only there is murder in the history, I mean, we do have bands like Dissection or Burzum or Emperor, which also have murders, but Absurd is also controversial because, well, National Socialism as part of the lyrics. So one could say very, very toxic band in that respect. Mind you, I don't agree any of the politics. Doesn't matter whether it's right wing or left wing, but I want to get it out of here before you people start saying, okay, once again, this bald dude is, advocating some kind of policies. I don't. I'm merely listening to the music. And might be also worth mentioning that I never cared for Absurd's previous stuff. I haven't heard all of them, but the ones that I have, they have always been kind of too melodic. And the kind of a melodic that doesn't click with me. So it doesn't even matter whether the topics of the band would be more suitable for my worldview or whatever, the music didn't click. But as I'm kind of bound to have open mind in terms of music and put aside whatever lyrical or ideological content there might be behind the band, I was keen to listen to this one, and to my surprise, this is a good album. Not maybe good enough for my own collection, but still good enough. And the thing here is, this is made of rather short and sweet tracks, which work for the favor of the band, given that it is like 12 tracks and less than 40 minutes. So this means these songs are right to the point. Surely they're somewhat melodic. I mean, there's kind of a catchy melodies all over the place with this album. but it's also kind of a rock and roll. That is what you would people call black and roll. Think of bands like Vreit from Norway and others, which are kind of a groovy with the black and roll. Now when you combine that with melodies and a little bit more punkish approach, or rock and roll punk, where you want to draw the line, but combining that with these lyrics, you get to RAC, Rock Against Communism. You probably have heard of it. So basically, Schwarze Bande is made of RAC, black and roll, and melodic black metal, mid-tempo whatsoever. Of course, because we're talking about black metal, the vocals are more on the raspier side rather than your typical rock and roll singing or whatever. But they all kind of click nicely together. So if you're just focusing on the music, not the lyrics or ideology, I don't even have any idea what the lyrics are. Here they are on Metal Archives, but when I was listening to this on my way here to Spain, obviously I am just merely listening to the music. I have no idea what the lyrics are all about. Besides, I don't even speak German, so I would have to go all the way translating and all that stuff. And I don't have time for it. If you want to look deeper into the lyrics to find about something to criticize, whether it's toxic or whether it's according to your ideology or whatever, it's your business. I don't really care. But for me, these melodies and riffs and production and vocals take kind of a click nicely. So if you just listen to the music and forget about the elements which are not part of the music, this is actually very likable album. It's easygoing, it's easy to get into, it's groovy, it's catchy, and it's right to the point. Like I said, the songs are short and sweet, not too short, mind you. These are not like 10-second grind songs, but just kind of a 2, 3, 4 minute songs, and they just go on nicely, and they don't bore you down because, well, the songwriting and the compositions kind of make sense. I mean, a lot. And if only these kind of patterns would be more used, as opposed to so many bands going third wave black metal, post-black metal, and releasing 12-minute songs. If there's one thing Absurd could really teach to a lot of bands in terms of songwriting, it's more like make your songs compact, sweet, and that. Then kill your darlings and move on. You don't have to make 8-minute tracks to tell a story, whatever your lyrics are. You can just go with like 3 minutes. The basic kind of heavy metal and rock and roll, hard rock and all that stuff. And that's it. And then you move on to the next piece. And that makes a lot of sense. Now I was also told about the backstory, who wrote the songs, who wrote the album, and it's not one of those original Absurd members, as far as I could tell anyway. But I promise to keep that, kind of a secret, because it's not public information. So either you do a little bit of searching for your own, or maybe you have contacts who you can ask. Be it as may, I think this is a solid album, and it's only for those who can either agree with the ideology or those who just don't care. Me being the latter one. And those who are offended by the very topics or lyrics, don't bother this one. It's only gonna make you sad or angry. That being said, links are not provided in the description box because there's very, very little to be told about the release, but I guess if you're interested, you will find this in your local distro or label. And moving on to next review. See you again.